So today we're talking about Onyx Storm. There are spoilers ahead.
Because we just finished it
Yesterday.
yesterday afternoon.
And then Ashley flew in today so that we could have cocktails and talk Onyx Storm. So join us. What do you think?
I'm still devastated. I'm still trying to process it. I was really glad that I had you reading it with me and finishing it on the same day because I had, and you had, friends that are still reading it or like finish it after us. So it was nice. We finished it around the same time and could deal with our feelings
together.
We both started the day that came out.
Uh-huh.
We anticipated being done with it the next day or the day after that.
Yeah.
Even though finishing it 4 days later seems like a normal time to read a book.
Yeah.
For me, it felt really long. I couldn't get through 200 pages, same as you.
Yeah, I agree. Those first 200 pages, slow. I know you and I talked about it. Is this going to be the DNF? Are we not going to finish this book that we've been super excited about? Because what is happening? Nothing is happening.
And it was more than just slow, it was disappointing. Both of her other books in this series immediately drew me in instantly. I was just like, can't wait to see what happens. And for that many pages, that's hours of reading by that point. I have questions from last book that I want her to get to. Violet's Signet didn't come out until the last third of the book. Yeah. And that's kind of when everything started happening. It picked up a lot, the island hopping. I think Halden coming was before that, right?
Halden coming was like literally the first, like right around 206, because I sent you a voice note and was like, okay, now it's interesting. And it was like, oh, Violet's had a relationship with a prince. Where has this
mention it?
Yeah, with Eric's brother. Why is this just now coming into play?
It was odd to me too, because when she found out about Kat in the previous book, she mentioned how it was threatening to her because she was in line for this throne, and it's like, come on, like. But I loved it because the second I saw him, and I'm assuming a lot of us were like, okay, she's sitting with him. What is he gonna do? He didn't let us down.
I love a toxic red flag. I love it.
I love that part so much. I wish he went further with it. But it was funny because I was like, how is he going to get out of this? And then he just comes over and plays it off like he missed.
Yeah.
And we know he doesn't miss.
No.
Like, come on. Holden knew he didn't miss.
Yeah.
But he just had to walk away with his tail between his legs and look embarrassed.
I loved it.
It was awesome. And then him showing up to her place later, so jealous and distraught about it.
And then sweet about it. I think that's one of the things I really love that Rebecca does in her writing, making Xaden so sweet with Violet.
Yeah.
He's this hard ass with everybody else, but with the woman that he loves, he's so sweet with her.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it was to the point you and I were having a conversation, I think like halfway through the book. Like, I think he might already be fully evil. Like, he's just playing her. And that was totally not the case. You get to the end and he's still grasping on to his love for her while he's giving up his entire soul to save everyone. You were right. He wasn't. It was just weird to me that the whole time he was being honest and true to her. It just seemed unlikely for somebody who was channeling from the earth.
I love that love conquers all. Love conquers giving your soul away for all power. Love is still more powerful than that.
We'll see, because he has her at the end of this book. She's kind of stuck now because he's gone.
Right.
She's married to him.
Yeah.
She can't move on from him. She's a married woman now.
We don't know where lady.
We don't know where the hell he's going to, but she'll look like such a hoe if she's like, I have a thing for Eric or whoever.
And that goes into a lot of my last questions for it. That very last page, they're like, hey, there's still 4 people, including Xaden, gone. So who is with him? Was it Garrick?
It has to be Bodhi to me, because he was next in line if Xaden left.
Right.
So the fact that he's like, it's yours all means Bodhi's gone to me. How else would it be hers then? I don't know if he's the brother he's talking about, because that feels like it would be too easy, because that's his cousin.
I feel like it's either Bodhi or Garrick that switched over, and now they're Venom too, because he saw me struggling this whole time and he knows all about like how I've been doing this. So I think that's part of it. I thought the islands were really kind of like a fun like way to get us going somewhere else. Like, we've been on this continent and now we're off onto these islands. The one thing that I know really bugged a lot of people, if you look at the map, the islands aren't in the map. But I feel like that was done on purpose.
I didn't look for the islands on the map.
I don't, but Ashley does.
Levins?
Levins is a huge, I follow the map to a T.
Yeah.
And so I noticed it and I was like, man, I know how anal she is about this. I assume other people are going to have a really hard time with it.
Yeah.
But I liked it because it felt very similar to the Hunger Games Catching Fire. When they're in all of those different times on that little island, it felt like that of, okay, what are we going to experience on this next island?
And they're all so different from each other. What was your favorite island?
Oh, for sure when he found his mom.
Yeah.
I audibly gasped. I was like, what was
you?
Yours?
I did. You voice memoed me that you gasped.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there yet. So you're like, get to this page and you will gasp. No, that was good. I was confused with the issue with his mom. She clearly didn't know that he was poisoning them all and was freaking out about it, but she still wasn't really great. She still wasn't great. Didn't redeem herself.
She was pretty you're really nothing.
She didn't give a good enough explanation for ditching him when he's 8 or 10 or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, I liked the poisoning scene. Violet says, you're already poisoned.
Yeah.
That was badass. Yeah. I love when Violet does a badass thing.
I'm here to play chess, not checkers.
It was because I knew something was going on when she got the vial and we're like, okay, what is she going to do? But that was cool because they didn't tell us until after she had poisoned them all.
Well, I thought it was going to be something to change Xaden's behavior, to make him more pleasant. I was like, oh, she's going to poison him to be pleasant.
That makes sense. I think my favorite island, I have two. I really loved the weird carnival island where they were playing the games out on the field, the people cheering. My immediate thought when that happened, they flew in and everyone was running and cheering for them, was like, okay, all these other islands were terrified of the dragons. Mm-hmm. This island is cheering for these dragons. This has to be where Andarna's family is. They know dragons. They're not scared of dragons. Yeah. So that's what I thought. I liked everything that happened there. I thought it was cool. Yeah. I think that what everyone got is going to matter. All their gifts are going to matter.
Violet's compass will
points to, it doesn't point north, but it points to something.
Yeah, that'll definitely get us somewhere.
Yeah, the box, the empty glass box, they're all going to matter.
For a point.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree.
And then obviously the Panthers scene. I loved that island. Oh. I loved that island. Yeah. It was really, really cool. I like anytime that just a bunch of people die. Especially when it's from Xaden. And when he can show how badass he is.
Yeah,
because
when he's powerful and he's nope. And I love it when he does it in the name of Violet. This is the woman I love. And no matter what, you will not hurt her.
The whole thing was weird too, with the king stabbing through the prince's hand with a dagger. It's he had tried to steal back something from him and stuff. It used to be yours, but you clearly even admit that your family traded it to him. So it's not yours anymore.
This is why your assistant's head is in front of you now.
That was cool. I first thought that when they were I could tell the king was sadistic. So as soon as they had those platters that were going to be lifted, I was like, what's under there? There's something. And of course it was the redhead's head who she thought was sleeping with the prince. That was crazy. And then I loved Andarna in the back holding one of the panthers and she's just waiting. And it's just
I'm starting to drink.
It was so funny. She was funny this whole book.
The whole time. I loved the dragons this time.
Nonstop. Yeah. Nonstop funny. Her going at Taryn when she's just you're a grumpy old man. It's just funny. But then after that scene, she's just becoming this really comedic character, which you need in this because there's not a lot of it's serious and romantic. But I love the laugh out loud aspect that they bring, and that's why when Andarna leaves, it feels weird saying it out loud because it's the spoiler, one of the biggest spoilers,
one of the biggest spoiler of the book, and you got there first. And you would text me what page, and so you would literally text for when the dragons show up and save the wardstone, and so everybody's safe again. But then the next chapter, she leaves, and I sobbed.
Me too.
Shay had to come out of the bathroom to check on me because I was audibly not okay from this. I wasn't okay.
I hated it. Because for me, the hardest part was when that line to her went blank and she just couldn't feel it. And then Violet's in bed for 4 days.
Yeah.
It was horrible when she left. And it was like these people, these dragons, aren't even nice to you.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with them? It's like a kid who's adopted into a really nice family and wants to find his crackhead mom. It's like, no, you're happy.
Leave on.
But I like the one, I forget his name, the one who comes back, the one who was always going to hear and darn it out until Xaden showed up with his wonky eyes. That was a question I had too. Why were his eyes suddenly red right then? Then it went away.
I think they can do magic. And so, I don't know, they call it forward, don't have good intentions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's just a theory. And we're going to have a whole list of theories from this over for the next 2 years.
And we're going to make a video about theories for the 4th book, or at least going over people's theories, because some of them are crazy. And a lot of the Onyx Storm theories that I read before, none of them came true.
Not a one. I thought I knew something going into this. Yeah. I knew nothing.
Well, it's Violet's signet. Never saw that coming.
Would have never guessed.
I mean, I've seen 50 guesses of her signet, never in a million years.
Would have never guessed it.
Your friend, though, I think as she was seeing all, like, because it keeps showing her dreams.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't even pick up on that. I was just like, oh, she's dreaming again.
I was like, man, she has a lot of nightmares.
I hope that, you know how, like, there are people whose signets kind of change as they get better at wielding them.
Right.
And they get stronger. So I hope that it changes a little bit. That it's not just, I'm in somebody else's dream, you know, like that
she can control something or
make them think things, make them dream things.
Like, let's see her be a weapon.
Yeah, because that's right now. It's like, how are you going to use that to your advantage? You know, it wasn't used to her advantage at all in this book. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I didn't really like it. I know a lot of people were excited about that. I wish that her signet was way cooler. Like, either she just flat out could read minds and they had to keep it quiet because you're not allowed to do that, or see the future, or do something better than just going in and out of people's dreams. But I mean,
she has to be coming up with some crazy way.
Yeah, there's gonna be. I know there will.
Yeah.
In 3 years. Or whatever.
I was really confused. Not confused, but it was interesting for the end. For those last 6 chapters, how we kept jumping back and forth between different people's point of views.
I was so distracted when they did Rhiannon's because it's a female point of view. The only time she's done this in the past is going from Violet to Xaden. So when you start for the first time you're reading Rhiannon's, I kept thinking it was Violet talking. And I had to check myself and be like, oh yeah, this is from this perspective. Hers, I didn't really care for her chapter that much. Imogen's I loved. Imogen's was hard. I cried. It was a really good, well-written scene, though, between the two of them. And like, just her final words and all of that was horrible. And then the fact that Garrick's the one that comes to save her. And did he have to wield to save her or channel? He might have had to channel to save her.
When we get to Xaden's chapter, and he's like, I can't believe that my brother did this. That maybe Garrick, because he was going back and forth from the college, he was all over the continent during that 12 hours trying to save things. That's really, like, yeah, could be.
Because the Venin were sucking the life out of that building. It was creeping up on them. He runs in, saves them. He clearly, him and Imogen, they haven't hooked up yet, but it seems like in that scene that he had feelings for her as well. And if he does, then I think that he could have done that to save her there. But we'll never know.
Soon. In 2 or 3 years, you have to reread the whole book again.
Yeah.
So now you'll get to do it the next time.
Yeah, all 3.
We originally rated these both 5 right out the gate, right? While we were still grieving, we rated it a 5.
We both rated this book 5, yes.
Yeah. Would you still rate it a 5?
That's what I was thinking, because you and I struggled to get through the first half of this book. We weren't interested. How is this going to affect the story? Like, this doesn't matter. None of this matters.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm like having a hard time remembering a lot of the first half of the book.
Yeah.
I read it 3 days ago and I finished it yesterday, but reading it 5 was right after it ended. And we're just like, what the hell? And it's so emotional.
So sad.
It's confusing. You have a million questions and you're like, I love this series. It reminds you why you love the series.
Yeah.
I wanted to be reminded why I love the series. And she did it in the last few hundred pages. I feel like I'm still going to keep it at a 5. I think I will, because I think there's going to be a lot of things that we read in those slower parts that are going to affect things.
Matter.
We were just introduced to too many people all at once, too many dragons all at once.
Yeah, I mean, it was like she introduced like 37 new characters.
Yeah.
What a lot to keep up with.
Yeah. And we also talked about how it's very much like Sarah J. Maas of keeping the last chunk of the book. Like, that's what you really love.
Yeah.
Whereas the other 2 books of the series, I loved them all the way through.
Right.
But I think I'm keeping it at a 5 just because of how amazing the last chunks of it were and how it was not like anyone expected. Nothing that I've ever seen anybody guess about this book was true.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think I'd keep it as a 5 because of the first half. But I think a lot of that, to your point, is going to start to unravel the next 2 books of the series. And then just those final, like that final 150 pages was just
heartbreaking.
It was everything that you would want it to be in a really good book that you're feeling for the series.
The hardest thing for me was Xaden's point of view chapter, when you see him literally trying to hold on to himself. That was horrible. I hated it.
And he feels through the bond like, I love him.
And all these pieces of his soul are flying away and dying and turning dark, and he's just like trying so hard to hang on to it and hope that he can remember it or hope that he can keep it. And clearly he does. Like, I mean, because after that is when they get married and he leaves her the note.
Yep.
So he kept on to some of it.
Yeah.
To where he's not going to try to kill her.
I don't think he's ever going to be 100% the bad guy.
I don't think he's even going to join them and be on their forces of trying to kill people, because he channeled at the end in a huge way and used it to kill Venom.
Yeah.
And didn't use it to work with them.
I think he'll continue to try and fight them.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see one of their own not being with them. Or maybe like 3 of them if he's with his friends. Who knows?
Oh, I love it. I'm here for it.
I love it. I'm trying to get over it. Did you end up rereading the end of it?
Yeah, I reread it today. I absolutely loved it. I loved my heart being like pulled out.
That was one of the worst ones for me out of a book. I spent like a good half of the day just not feeling like myself.
I was really sad.
I think it's because she wrote such a good character in him, of all the people who don't deserve something like that to happen. Because he's had an entire life of just struggling and always putting other people before himself. He's going to sacrifice himself for all 107 of his the other kids. And it's always self-sacrificing. And then he's the one who has to suffer because of it. That's why it hurts to read it. But I love it too, because it would have been easy to make him kind of a bad guy. And she was like, no, I'm not doing that in this book. We'll see. She's married. We don't know how long he's going to be gone. And they're married and she's stuck there. What if he's gone for 7 years and she's just stuck there through all of her 20s into her 30s and she's just like alone, the queen, with no one? That'd be horrible.
That would be sad.
She knows. She said she plotted out everything. Yeah. The whole thing's plotted.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. 5 stars.
5 stars.
Would read again. Will read again.
Will read again.